Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to our webinar, Server Template Deep Dive, the newest multi-cloud features. Today's webinar focuses on a brief overview of multi-cloud server templates, and then we'll dive in to discuss some recently released features that you'll want to start using, especially if you're considering running across multiple clouds. However, before we get started, I'd like to ask you a few questions. So let's launch a couple polls. First question is, what is your server template experience level? So these should be pretty clear. Select the one that most applies. Choose the first option, expert, if you have experience writing server templates from scratch. Maybe you just clone but you customize existing server templates, so choose that second option if that's the case. If you're just getting started with server templates and you use them out of the box, select that third option. Maybe you're just starting to learn about server templates. Or finally, you don't have plans to use server templates, and I might suggest that you are in the wrong webinar. It's my snarky fifth option. So let's leave this poll open for a couple more seconds. We see some results coming in, and we will share those with you so you have an idea of what your fellow audience members' experience levels are. Let's push that out. Okay, good. A lot of you, actually many of you do have some experience using server templates, so that's really great to see. As well as many of you are most of you are starting to learn about server templates, and I'm glad that everyone seems to be in the right webinar. So let's go with the next question. So if you are using server templates, what kind of server templates are you using? So just select the one that applies. You're using ones that are RightScript based, and don't worry if you don't know what that means. We'll cover that briefly in a moment. Maybe you're using Chef based server templates. Maybe you're using both or using either. Let's leave that open for a few seconds. Okay, cool. No surprises here. So many of you who are using templates are using ones that are RightScript based, but then most of you said neither, and that's because most of you don't have experience yet, as we just learned a second ago. So just two more questions. I promise these are quick. So if you are running applications in the cloud, are you running across multiple clouds? So yes, soon, or no. Easy. We see some responses coming in. Okay, interesting. A lot of you are running across multiple clouds, and the majority are planning to soon. So that's really great to know. And the final question, do you use Chef outside of RightScale? So not Chef-based scripts, but rather do you actually use Chef directly? So we'll leave this open for a few more seconds, just a simple yes or no answer. And I'd like to thank you all for answering all these questions for us. I know it's kind of obnoxious, but it really helps us tailor the webinar on the fly to our specific audience's background and needs. So thank you again. And it looks like most of you are not using Chef outside of RightScale, but about 11% are. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. Today we're joined by the two RightScalers who lead the server template development team at RightScale. So on my right, I have Tim Miller, who's our Senior Director of Server Template Development. Tim's responsible for cloud development, and that involves overseeing the teams that develop server templates, write images, and integrations to all of the clouds that RightScale supports. And I also have here with me Carrie Penniman, who's a Senior Software Engineer at RightScale. Carrie is the technical lead for the Server Templates and Write Images team, and he has been developing server templates at RightScale for over 3 years, so he has some pretty serious experience in this area that he'd love to share with you today. And then real quick before I hand it off to Tim, I'd like to point out one of the great things about GoToWebinar is the questions section. So check it out in the main GoToWebinar control panel. Jared Marcel from our account management team is standing by to answer your questions as they come in. But also throughout the course of the webinar, Carrie and Tim will take any questions live on the air that are maybe more broadly applicable to the audiences at large. So if you have any questions at any point in time, go ahead, ask those in the questions panel, and we'll get answers for you ASAP. And I'd also like to recommend joining the conversation on Twitter using the RightScale hashtag. So with that, Tim, let's get started.
Thanks, Sarah. So here's the agenda we're going to go over today. We'll do a quick overview, maybe just a little bit of level set on server templates. We'll talk about multi-cloud templates, and then I'll turn it over to Carrie, who is going to dive deep into some of the latest features in our new long-term supported release. We have a page of references, and then hopefully we will be able to have a good amount of time to do some questions and answers. So here's a screenshot of a base server template showing the scripts tab. This shows the core of the server template and what scripts will run. Server templates have boot areas, operational, and decommission areas. And so when you launch a server template, it runs the boot scripts, and you can see the ones we have here in this server template. Operational scripts are for managing the server while it's running. But also we have this section called decommissioning, where when the server is brought down, it's going to run scripts that are in this section. There happens not to be any in this server template, but things like cleaning up ports and other things you might want to do when the server goes down is where that type of stuff will reside. But we like to say at RightScale, a script is a script. So you heard about write scripts, and we usually classify those as like Bash, Ruby, Python, and then we also have chef recipes that we support. This template happens to be a chef template, and so you can see the chef calls in there, but really it's your choice. We support both types, and will be for the future. So really the next question is, what makes a server template multi-cloud? So this screenshot is showing the images tab of that same server template, and it's here where you'll find the power, or really the multi-cloud power of a server template and the RightScale platform. The scripts we were just talking about can be run on any RightScale supported cloud in OS by just picking the combination you want. We do this via something called the MultiCloud Image. It's MCI for short around here, and it's really a collection of images that our image team builds. These write images, as we call them, are built so that each image supplies the exact same OS contract to the scripts. This is what allows the server template to work unchanged in any cloud that is contained within the MCI. So in this screenshot that I have up here, this MCI contains write images for CentOS 5.8, CentOS 5.8 for different hypervisors. You can see EBS in there. You can see an HBM image that runs in AWS East, as well as some of our latest image work on CentOS 6.2. And you'll notice down in there, if you can read the text, you can see Azure and Google now as being supported. So once you put the server template and the MCI together, you get this: code once, run anywhere. This is a screenshot after selecting Add Server. And when it's asking you to do is pick the cloud you want to run in. So the next step, you just pick that cloud, and soon you'll be running there. So this is a very quick overview. I realize we just skimmed the surface of server templates, but just kind of wanted to let you see where the multi-cloud features were in the server templates. If you want more information, want to dive a little deeper, please check out our website, some of the tutorials we have posted there. So switching gears a little bit, I realize that many of you are just running a single cloud today. We kind of saw that in the polls. What I'd hope to convey in the last 3 slides is by using the RightScale platform, the server templates, and the images, you're already multi-cloud enabled without doing any extra work. So if the business requirements move you in that direction, the big thing is it's not a big refactor project. So what are some of those business reasons? Here's what our customers are telling us who are running multi-cloud. I think most of these are self-explanatory, but I did want to call out a couple of them. So performance, a lot of people just think performance is latency between you and the cloud, but also there's latency between the compute and the storage resources on that cloud, or even there's latency on how long it takes for a VM to provision. So those things all need to be taken into consideration. Compliance, many different things fall in compliance, but one that we hear a lot is, some places have government regulations preventing your data from leaving the country's borders. So that may drive you to a multi-cloud solution. Of course, a big topic always is disaster recovery, and it's now just not about having your assets in a different region. We know that can sometimes also cause problems. But now with this functionality, you're able to have assets in different clouds. You can again use the same server templates but with a different image in the MCI and be up and running quite quickly. Finally, needing to run in both private and public cloud is one of the biggest reasons that people are on the multi-cloud platforms. So I did want to have a little time here for people to put some stuff in. If you had other reasons, please feel free to add those in. We'd like to continue to update this list and keep it fresh as to all the reasons why people are moving to the multi-cloud implementations. So putting this into practice, it works something like this. You look at your application portfolio and you run it through the requirements filter, some of those that we mentioned before and certainly the ones that are applicable to your business. And you choose the best cloud that fits those requirements. But once that's up and running, you can then look to optimize by taking individual apps and going through the same process. And you may go through 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's just a constant thing. Again, everyone is in a different spot in their cloud journey, but we do have customers at this point who are optimizing by app and cloud. A couple of concrete examples. One is you have customers in both the U.S. and in China, but your current cloud provider does not have any data centers in China, and you want to have your VMs as close to your customers as possible. Another example is security. Maybe you want to run everything for your enterprise in a private cloud, but due to resource constraints, you may want to run your dev and test environments in a public cloud. Both of these are quite common business requirements that are driving our customers to multi-cloud. So what are the RightScale supported multi-cloud server templates? RightScale has both Linux and Windows server templates, and I won't go through the list here on the left, but you can see them: load balancers, app servers, database managers, so quite extensive. These templates can be used as is, or right out of the box, or a lot of our customers use them as reference architectures. So if you need to build your own, if we're not supporting something that you have, you just pull up these and you can use them as a reference on how to build your own. In the marketplace, you'll also see server templates by partners. They provide a wide variety of application and software stacks, so I encourage you to go out there and look, and maybe something you're interested in has already been built by a partner. Obviously, this is just a small example, but just want to give you kind of an idea of what's out there. So last slide for me, and then I'm going to turn it over to Carrie, but we did want to cover some new stuff we have going in our release methodology. So in order to support stable architectures and provide the latest features, clouds to customers, we've developed an approach of multiple lineages on our server template products. Our main development branch is called the Infinity lineage, and this always contains our latest changes to cookbooks, clouds, and server templates. And you can kind of see that on the blue line there. When appropriate, we're going to create a new lineage from the Infinity lineage, and it's labeled LTS, for long-term support. This designation means this particular lineage of the server template will only be updated with non-breaking bug fixes and will be supported in that manner by the engineering team for 18 months. So generally speaking, if an LTS supported server template provides the functionality, features, and clouds you need, you'll want to use that lineage of the server template. If you need newer features or capabilities, then you're going to want to be on the Infinity lineage of the server templates. So today, you'll find in the MultiCloud Marketplace server templates with the designation 12.11 and .x. We have a couple of different ones out there already. That's the Infinity branch, but you're also going to see out there 12.11.lts. Those are the long-term supported ones that we just cut in the June timeframe of this year. And then late-breaking news for all you current RightScale people, just yesterday we updated our Infinity lineage with release version 13.00, and the main new feature in there is Google and Azure support. So very exciting time for us here in the server template and image land at RightScale. So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Kerry now, and he's going to really dive deep into some of the new features in the 12.11 LTS release.
Thanks, Tim. We do have a couple questions from the audience. So before I dive into this, maybe answer some of these basic questions. One question was, please give a basic definition of a server template. I think Tim's gone over that. You know, it's a collection of scripts. Well, let me back up a little bit. Server template is really a template for creating a server on a given cloud. Like Tim showed, there's a collection of scripts: boot, operational, decommission. In addition, there's a collection of images that this template can run on. It also has monitoring, setting up monitoring and alerts for that server, as well as what repositories it's pulling its packages from. So it's kind of it's a blueprint for a server, and using that, you choose your cloud, and you choose some other options like instance size that you want, and click go, and it creates a server for you. And you can, it's almost like a cookie cutter. You can run it multiple times and create multiple servers, which which really, working in conjunction with the RightScale platform, becomes very powerful. Just one more quick one. Actually, there's two questions about can I upload and use my own VMware templates with RightScale, and can a multi-cloud image be created from an existing image like an AMI? And the answer to both of those is yes, as long as you can get your image to the cloud that you want to run on. The only requirement is that you load the RightScale agent called RightLink, and support.rightscale.com has information about how to install the RightLink package, which will allow your VM to link back to RightScale and be managed by RightScale. So with that, I think we're going to, there's a lot more questions coming in. We'll defer these to the end of the talk so we can get through everything. And so let me go into the deep dive. The new features in our long-term support V12 LTS server templates. This is really directed towards customers who are already familiar with our earlier server template offerings like the 11H1 server templates and are comfortable with how things work in a deployment of servers created by server templates, things like load balancer attach and detach. But if you're a first timer, hang in there. We'll be doing some demos that should really illustrate how RightScale solves the problem of multi-cloud so you can focus deploying on your application. Okay. With that, the first new feature is machine tags. And tags are just a way to attach some sort of metadata or information to your running server. We supply some tools that you can add, remove, and query these tags from the command line, from Chef resources, which I'll get into a little later, or from our dashboard UI. As you can see, they're really simple. From this example, this is a tag that we use, which we've arbitrarily assigned to mean this is a load balancer. This server with this tag is a load balancer for the www vhost. At the lower right-hand corner screenshot, this is taken from our app server, which has kind of the converse tag at the bottom there, saying this is an app server for the www vhost. So load balancer www equals app means it's an app server. Load balancer www equals lb means it's a load balancer. Some other interesting information there is that the app server is listening on port 8888. And its listen IP is also listed there, and that the app server is active and ready for connections. So it gives you an idea of what we use them for. It's really useful when used in conjunction with our API for automating actions on sets of servers or subsets of servers. It's really powerful in the context of the next feature, remote script invocation. And what this is it allows one server in your cluster to actually request that the RightScale platform run a script on a different server. So this is really a coordination feature, or coordinating actions within a cluster of servers. So in this example here, we're using the command line utility to run a remote script, actually a remote chef recipe. We're using the rs-run recipe command, and the name of the recipe that we're passing is load balancer do attach request. So run the do attach request on these recipients based on this tag. So this is our load balancer tag again for the www vhost, and then we're sending some information via a JSON file. We run this on our application servers when they launch to basically say to the RightScale platform, hey, tell all the load balancers in my deployment that I'm here and I'm ready for connections. And that runs the do attach request script on the load balancers, and they do what they need to do to attach that application server. So kind of to illustrate here, here's our typical three-tiered stack, 2 load balancers, auto-scaling app server tier, and then a master database with a replicating slave. Now, as you launch a new application server, it will tag itself with the load balancer www app tag, and then it will run that run recipe with that we just saw in the last example. That request will be sent to the RightScale platform. The RightScale platform will then dispatch that request to all the load balancers with corresponding tag, and they'll run their handle attach recipe, and each in turn attach that app server. And now you have a new app server in your load balancing pool. To see this in action, we can just go to the dashboard here. And here is what a three-tiered stack looks like in our dashboard. You have 2 application servers, 2 load balancers, and here I only have 1 database because this is not critical. This is just a demo system. I don't have a replicating slave right now. But you will see that I do have each one of these running in different clouds. So one of the app servers is running in on the SoftLayer cloud, one app server is running in Rackspace, one of the load balancers in SoftLayer, another load balancer in Rackspace, and our database is running in AWS in the Oregon region. So let's just see it happen here. What I've done to save time, I've actually launched the application servers, but they're not attached to our load balancer. So I'm going to just show you here. The load balancer is not serving any pages at this point. We get a 503 when we try to connect to our load balancer. I'm going to take the first application server, and I'm going to run one of its boot scripts that it would normally run. I've already when it boots up. And so looking at the boot scripts, near the end, once everything's installed, it does this do attach request. Jumping back real quick, here's the audit entries for the entire deployment. This is kind of an aggregate of everything that's happening to all the servers within the deployment. And as you can see, I've run this a few times. But once I run the script, we'll start seeing this getting populated with the new scripts that are running, so you can see what's happening. I'm going to run a do attach request here on app server 1. We'll jump back to these audit entries, and you can see that app server 1 is now retrieving its cookbooks. And in a moment, we'll see that the script will start running, and once it does, both load balancers will get the command to run their scripts, and we'll see this attached. So app server 1 is now converging, and both load balancer 1 and 2 now are preparing to run the handle attached for execution. They're both retrieving their cookbooks, and in a minute they'll be attached. We do have one question from the audience. Is there an equivalent to RS run recipe for write scripts? Absolutely. There is an RS run write script. From any of our write images, you can run RS run write script -- help, and it will give you all the syntax. Our support site also has it, the syntax for that command. So refreshing here, you can see both have run their handle attach a command. We go refresh our load balancer, and we have a very simple test app running. So that's kind of illustrates the power of the remote recipe or remote write script. And the really cool thing about this is that these servers don't have to be on the same cloud. This is going from SoftLayer to Rackspace to AWS. So this is a really powerful backplane management channel that RightScale provides for your server templates. One more question we have here is, why use a tag for the listen port instead of a server template input parameter? That is a good question. It is an input parameter in these new templates, and it's just kind of a reporting thing that you might query on. We don't really have a good method for querying input parameters, but the tags are meant for querying. So this is something that we put into a tag because we do plan on querying for it later via the API and via these remote recipes. Okay, moving back to the slides here. Maybe, there we go. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Storage Toolbox. This is actually a server template released with the V12 LTS. And the Storage Toolbox, the database managers are built on top of the Storage Toolbox, but really the Storage Toolbox in itself is pretty cool. In the cloud, it's all about persistence. You know, you have these ephemeral compute devices somewhere running on some hardware in the cloud. And the trick is, how do you get your data up to it so it can process and work on it? And then what do you do to ensure your data is persisted when that VM, that server, disappears, which eventually they always disappear. So two new concepts in our storage toolbox: primary backup and secondary backup. Primary backup is to use the backup mechanism of the local cloud. Not all clouds are created equal, so we have a set of tools that will select the best available persistence mechanism that cloud offers. We prefer volumes because they're fast and performant, like EBS volumes or Cloud Stack volumes. But these are typically stored on the local cloud. So while they're fast, if the local cloud goes down, you don't have access to them until the cloud comes up. Secondary backup was designed, it's a slower backup mechanism typically, but it gets it off of the local cloud onto a secondary cloud or up in a remote object store like S3 or Google Cloud Storage or Azure Storage, and allows you to restore even if in the event your cloud's down. And as I said, there's a tool set. There's actually a RightScale Tools gem that's part of the storage toolbox. It was built on our EBS tools, which were initially just for EC2, when EC2 was the only cloud. So there's a lot of lessons learned built into there. We've created an interface in that gem, which gives you, basically abstracts block devices. So it gaps that impedance mismatch between the clouds. They don't, not all clouds are created equal, like I said, but this provides you a single programming interface to create block devices, do primary and secondary backup and restores to those block devices. And you code to them once, and we handle the details between the clouds and the differences between the clouds. So this is another way where we deal with the multi-cloud difficulties. You just write your scripts once and then run them anywhere. So here's a quick diagram. This is showing our typical three-tiered stack that we just saw in the dashboard: 2 load balancers, 2 application servers, a master and slave database, taking volume snapshots, volume backups to the local cloud storage on CloudX. And it's also showing this red dotted line, our slower backup mechanism to some remote object store like S3. In the event that Cloud Y goes down, you don't have access to those volumes anymore. They're just stuck with the cloud, and you've got to wait for that cloud to figure out what's going on and them to get it back up. In the meantime, Cloud Y, if your secondary backups are available, you can take the exact same server templates, just select a different cloud, launch them, do a secondary restore, and you can get back up and running in another cloud, change your DNS records to point to your new load balancers, and be up and running while Cloud X is still down. So it's some pretty powerful stuff. As we mentioned, we now have Chef support built into the dashboard. For those of you who don't know what Chef is, there's too much to really go into in this short webinar, but it's at the high level, it's a system configuration language. So it's a language built for configuring servers, and it gives you a lot of cool features for free, and that's why we've adopted it. I've really enjoyed coding server templates in Chef over the past 2 years, and while there's a bit of a learning curve, once you get into it, it's really fun. And there's a lot of reasons. Our support.rightscale.com site has a Chef development guide, which will run you through some tutorials as well as some best practices for developer workflows for developing Chef recipes. Chef recipes are actually organized in what's known as a cookbook. So you have a cookbook which typically manages one service like MySQL or H8 proxy, and that cookbook has multiple recipes in it. And a recipe is analogous to a write script. It's just a script that configures something. And the recipes have this Ruby-like code, which is what's known as a DSL. We'll show you a snippet of one resource call in the recipe in a moment. But so you see a chef, you have cookbooks, recipes, so you see kind of a culinary analogy going there. Just some notables here. Chef language that we have native support for is different than the Chef platform. While we support Chef language in the dashboard, we do not support Chef platform natively. However, we do work with the Chef platform. And our current level of Chef support is at Chef v010.10, which is one of the later releases. Okay, the last feature I want to talk about is our built-in firewall support. Not all clouds are created equal. Not all clouds have security groups, so you need to protect your VMs. So this is a cookbook that we provide with 3 simple recipes. A default recipe which enables or disables the firewall. By default, we open up port 80, 443, and 22. The rest are closed. And then we give you two kind of utility operational recipes that you can use to set up, open and close ports and list ports. But really what I want to talk about is the Chef resource that we provide in this cookbook. It's called the Sys Firewall Resource. It has 2 actions, update and update request. So the update action is to manage ports on the local server. So open up a port, close a port that your application might need to listen on. And here's an example of some Chef code. This is a Chef resource call. Oops, sorry. This is a Chef resource call, and it's easiest read backwards, but basically this is just updating the port to be open on 3306. And what this machine tag does is say, open up this port to every server with this tag. So every app server that's active, open up your port. Open up my 3306 port so app servers can connect. So we're just opening up ports that to specific IP addresses. The converse of this is an update request. So this is where an app server might come up and say, hey, I need you to open your ports to me. And it uses that same RightScale remote recipe mechanism for managing the ports so your servers within a cluster can connect. So here's another example and demo that I'm going to do. This is our 3-tiered stack again with our app server that had just auto-scaled up. Now it's auto-scaling down. And before it closes, before it shuts down, it wants to make sure that the database closes its port that it is open for it. Because IP addresses can be global on some clouds, once you shut down a VM, another VM could actually get that same IP address, and it might not be a VM in your account. It might be someone else's account. So you want to make sure that you opened up port 3306 to IP address 1234. You want to make sure that you close it so nobody has access to your database. So that's what this demo is going to do. So the VM's about to shut down. It runs as decommission scripts and says, I want to run the request app server deny for all the active databases out there. RightScale platform then routes that to your active databases and says, hey, run this script, and here's the IP address of the app server that's going down, and the database will close its connection and then the app server shuts down. So I want to just show you that real quick.
But Carrie, isn't the real power there that, I mean, if you have multiple app servers running, or you're taking down either running and you're connecting or taking down, you don't have to go and do these one by one now. You don't have to find them all.
Absolutely, absolutely. These are pretty contrived, simple examples. But in a real world deployment, with huge traffic spikes, you're going to see 5 to 10 servers coming up at a time and shutting down at a time, and all of this is happening automatically for you. It's something that traditionally had to be managed by hands. Even admins going in and SSHing in and modifying this stuff by hand. This takes out a lot of the human error and just happens behind the scenes. While you get alerts that it's happening, it's being taken care of in a real-time manner. So we're going to disconnect this app server 1 that we actually connected to the load balancer. We're going to run its decommission script. Before we do, we should go take a look at the rules on the database manager here. So I'm going to run one of those utility scripts, which will list the ports that are open on the server. So sysfirewall do list rules. And this is, like I said, just a convenience script. Instead of looking at the aggregate audit entries, I'm just going to look at the audit entries for this server only. And as it's running, so you could just SSH into this machine and list the IP firewall rules if you'd like. This just kind of stops you or avoids you from having to SSH in. Maybe you're a user, you want to find out what's going on, but you don't have access to SSH into the machine. So it'd be a way for you to get some information about what's going on. Oops. So here you can just see it's a list of files that we concatenate to make your IP tables rules. You can see 2 app servers, or 3306 is open to 2 servers, presumably app servers. For those of you comfortable with IP tables, we actually put the real IP tables rules here, and you can see 2 application servers, one with IP address 168 and one with .53. So app server 1 is actually, what is his IP address? It will be .53 IP address. And so we're going to run his decommission script like you would if we were shutting him down. And so he has 2 decommission scripts: detach request from the load balancers and tell the database to close up its port. We're going to run the close port. See the audit entry here that's about to run the script to request that the port be closed. It's running now. We're going to go jump over here to the database audit entries, and we should see that there it is. The RightScale platform has now prompted the database to run his setup rule recipe. And in a moment, while this is running, actually we'll queue up that do list rules script again. Shoot, that's the wrong one. And we'll jump back to the audit entries. And it looks like setup rule has completed, and our list rules is running again. And we'll just prove to you that this actually updated the IP tables rules. But what this resource is used for is if you're going to be developing your own server template or modifying one of our server templates, you will, here we go. Now you can see there's only one 3306 port open for one IP address, and that .53 no longer exists. So this is just some orchestration tools that are built into our long-term support server templates that you can use and modify. This sysfirewall resource is useful if you want to install a new application on one of the servers or listen on a different port. Well, actually, that's built in. If you want to just change the port, you can just change the inputs. But if you want to run a different service, you need to open that up to some servers in the cluster or the outside world. You can use this in your scripts to automatically manage that. There we go. Back to the slides, maybe. There we go. And just lastly, just some other notable features that are in the long-term supported release. Not necessarily multi-cloud, but these have come in from our users through the feedback.rightscale.com website. This is where we get a lot of user feedback, and this gets fed to our product team and actually makes it to our engineering teams and gets put on our backlog for implementation. Multiple block devices is one. So you can actually have multiple block devices that do primary and secondary backup and restore on a single VM. Load balancer supports multiple vhosts now, so it can send requests to multiple auto-scaling arrays for different applications. Application server code download options, we now support not just SVM, but Git and remote object stored, like S3. Application servers load balancer options, you can use our HA proxy template like I showed in the demo, or elastic load balancers from Amazon, cloud load balancers from Rackspace. Support multiple DNS providers now, including Dyn DNS, and cool alert for seconds behind master to know if the health of your replicating slaves is lagging, and support for EBS images under our server templates, which allow you to start and stop these templates, which is really nice for our dev and test. So that was our whirlwind tour of our latest features. I'm just going to pass it back to Tim.
Thanks, Gary. We have a quick reference page here, but before I get to that, I think we had to go through it pretty fast. But what we're trying to do and add into these server templates and into the RightScale platform really is to manage at scale across multiple clouds. So we provide as much flexibility so that you can satisfy your business requirements. You can run single cloud, multi-cloud, private to public cloud. We're trying to enable all that and leave the choices to you, whichever works best for your business. Just quick on the reference page, and we'll get to Q&A. We just put some things we've seen go across the internet about public clouds or private clouds. One of our partners wrote a good three-part series on creating server templates using Chef. So there's some interesting stuff in there. And then if you're really into RightScale server templates, we put our GitHub account up here. This is where you'll find all the source code to our RightScale Chef books that make up our Chef series of templates. So with that, I think we'll turn it over to questions, and I think we have some here already that have come in, and we can kind of work down this list here. I know there was one about Windows template support across public and private, AWS and CloudStack. So yes, we do support that. We fully support Zen Server on CloudStack. And then we have some support for KVM and VMware with our Windows Server templates. Not because of us, it's because there's hypervisor issues in there that prevent full support across all the Windows Server templates. But certainly for Zen Server, there's complete support. I think Carrie answered, are there step-by-step guides for creating chef recipes?
There are on our support site, again, support.rightscale.com, there's a chef developer guide, which will give you there's 3 different tutorials. I would recommend going through them in order to kind of see how you can hook up chef recipes to the RightScale platform and how to develop them. And there is also a lot of community chef community resources out there, including an IRC.
And then I think the other resource, I know at the last RightScale user conference, we held a one-day deep dive into Chef server template development. We've also put together a 3-day course that I think we'll be rolling out publicly. I know we've run it twice here internally. with RightScale people, and I think also with a couple of partners to get it dialed in to the right level. And I think you'll see that stuff starting to come out, holding public classes somewhere, as well as get to the user conference, and you can, a day early, and you can pick up a class there as well. So we're reading down these.
So there's a question, do you have API exposed to automate the execution of write scripts? Absolutely. Just about everything you can do in the dashboard you can do via our API. So if you have your own automation that you want to write and script out, you can write it to the RightScale API, and that will work across all clouds. So that's another way we're kind of leveling or bridging the impedance mismatch between the clouds is just one single API that you can write once and run on any cloud.
I think there's a question about IBM SmartCloud here. I guess in my world, BizDev has a list of every single possible cloud we could support. Right now we don't support IBM SmartCloud, but I'm sure it's on the list. I'm not sure exactly the priority there, but we're working down them and adding new ones. As you can see, Google and Azure just this last release. We're working on the next set as we speak. So I'm sure at some point that it'll get picked up. I'm just not sure when.
Another question, is there support for Oracle Linux in the pipeline? Currently, not to my knowledge. However, the feedback.rightscale.com forum, I urge you to go request that because the more requests for that, once you put the request in, people can actually vote for it. And as the votes increase, they bubble to the top, and that's how we prioritize getting features into the dashboard. All right. I'm looking at another one here. Do you support Puppet? Natively, we do not support Puppet, so you can't have Puppet scripts in a server template side by side with write scripts like you can with Chef. However, you can launch your own Puppet master and Puppet servers using server templates, and then run Puppet through them.
Load balancers.
What load balancers are supported with RightScale across MultiCloud? We have our HA proxy load balancer, which is a combination of Apache HA proxy. We do have a Nginx load balancer on the roadmap. But then we also support Amazon's ELB and Rackspace's CLB load balancing appliances.
And then Riverbed, if you're familiar with them, just put their Stingray load balancer into the marketplace.
Oh, that's
so
right.
That's
right.
another option for you.
All right. Any more questions?
Oh.
Is it possible to have a database master in one cloud and a database slave in another cloud with live replication? Do you have server templates for that? Our current server templates actually will work. However, we don't support encrypted connection at this point in time. That's on the roadmap for the V13 server templates. And so I do not recommend using the V12 server templates unmodified. You need to add the MySQL SSL connection yourself to those server templates if you wanted to run those replicating cross clouds. I know there are people that are doing it with success, but you would need to do a little modification yourself.
Thanks so much, you guys, for managing this Q&A. It looks like we have one or two more questions that we'd like to answer. We do have a few more minutes left of this webinar. If you have any unanswered questions, feel free to go ahead and submit those. I think Tim and Carrie are going to take just a couple more, and then we'll close it out.
Okay, there's one question. I need to start and stop my instances by scheduled basis. How can I do it the easiest way in RightScale? Currently, the easiest way would be to use our API. Have a cron job on some server that starts and stops them at particular hours. Starts them before people come into work, shuts them down after people come into work. I know a few customers doing that for dev and test environments. Can I talk about our new product possibly coming out, which would actually enable you to do this in the dashboard? I think there might even be a private beta coming soon.
Yeah, let's say there's a new product coming.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. But the API is the way to do it currently.
I think there were some questions about clouds too here. Google, can I comment on the Google new Google Cloud? Certainly that's the latest cloud that just went into our dashboard. And I think we have both Google and RightScale Salesforce people engaged in that. So if you're interested, please contact your your sales rep, or if you're not sure who that is, or just get it into us somehow, and I'm sure we'll follow up. There's a question about HP Cloud. We do have support for HP Cloud, and more is coming. And so I think hold on tight, and I think you'll see some major stuff coming out in that arena here pretty shortly too. But I won't divulge dates. What else? I think we're kind of running out of time here.
Just real quick, is one person asked, is there a way to open ports to the public IP of an app server? And absolutely, there's the sysfirewall setup rule recipe that was run in the demo. You can use that to open it up in an ad hoc manner. You can open up just an IP address or to everyone. You could also script it using the sysfirewall cookbook in one of your recipes.
All right, cool. Thanks, Carrie, and thanks, Tim, for all of your help and all of your time answering these questions. And thanks, everyone, for submitting your questions. I'd like to let you know, actually, that there were a ton of questions asked here that didn't necessarily directly relate to some of the newest features, that were maybe some more broad server template questions or broad RightScale questions as a whole. So I have good news for you guys. Our product team is actually going to answer all of these and publish them on our site. I don't have the URL yet. It'll go live later this afternoon, and after this webinar is over tomorrow morning, we'll actually send out an email to you guys with that link. So you'll be able to see some more thorough answers to these questions from our product team. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to check this out. We have recorded this webinar. It will be posted on our site later this afternoon. And like I mentioned earlier, we will be sending out an email to everyone with the link to the questions as well as the link to these references that are on this slide right now. Thanks for your time and have a great day.